Next, we'll be talking about the states that target transgender healthcare in the first bills of 2023. What are those bills? What are the things that are going on in the states?
Right. So last week we mentioned, things seem to be quiet on the state front, that everything seems to be settled down, and it was basically just, no, everybody was on a break. So now everybody's back. Let's see what kind of madness. Yeah. In fact, Aaron just updated this. There are, I believe the latest update is 14 states with 23 pieces of legislation that have been introduced within the United States since the beginning of 2023. That is already a steamroll trying to, bring new legislation in, attacking the trans community, taking people and removing different types of freedoms or access that we have to, public rights. So what we have as of right now that we can share details on in Kentucky, there was a bill introduced that would make it an emergency declaration if transgender kids use the bathroom, because as this Representative Bill Wesley said, by allowing students to use the restroom that are reserved for students of a different biological sex, this will create a significant potential for disruption of school activities and unsafe conditions, and it will create potential embarrassment, shame, and psychological injury to students. That's in Kentucky. In Arizona, brand new Governor Katie Hobbs has been pushing and actually accomplished today protections for LGBTQ plus state employees and contractors, while at the same time, the Republicans in Arizona have launched a new Don't Say Gay bill type thing that would force schools to misgender trans students throughout Arizona. This is about child safety, is what they say. This is about parents' rights to information and access. So while we have the new governor there who is trying to fight for those rights for trans people and LGBTQ plus people, Republican representatives are doing the exact opposite for students in schools across Arizona. Out of Oklahoma, we have one of the most horrendous laws regarding gender affirming healthcare. Oklahoma has introduced a new bill that would prevent anyone under the age of 26 from accessing gender affirming care. Now, that number is based upon the idea that part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, does not fully develop until age 25. And that is based on some studies that were done by neuroscientists. But this bill would make it illegal for any healthcare professional to provide gender affirming care or gender affirming care referrals. So even if a doctor in Oklahoma said, no, I don't do that, they cannot by law refer them to a person in another state. Over in West Virginia, a judge has overturned has reinforced the law that bars transgender girls and women from competing. And the interesting thing is that there is an individual who is representative of the trans community, and that is Becky Pepper Jackson, a trans girl. This judge has basically said, you know what, we're still going to enforce this. We're still going to stand by this. The ruling said that while Pepper Jackson takes puberty blockers, suppressing testosterone, and any physical advantage, it's possible that other girls don't, and therefore they would have an advantage over cisgender girls, which is problematic because you have a judge extending beyond the case before them.
Yeah.
You have a transgender girl who is sitting before a judge pressing the case, but the judge extended the movement of that beyond others and overruled the case at hand. Louisiana has taken away a little bit of entertainment for people there because now you have to have legal documentation to prove that you are over 18 if you want to look at some, shall we say, adult-oriented content. The Louisiana legislature voted last year, and it became a law in effect that anyone over 18 cannot access what may be deemed to be pornographic material. Now, that may seem a little bit silly in some ways, but please remember, Louisiana is one of those states that is trying to classify any material relating to LGBTQ plus people as pornographic and obscene. So this would not allow anyone under the age of 18 to access any information about LGBTQ plus material, which means that people under 18 in Louisiana could not watch Transistance because this would be deemed as pornographic and obscene. In Alabama,
And you
in
haven't
court,
even seen us get pornographic or obscene in this channel yet.
right? We try to keep it off camera, or on TikTok, but that's just me. In Alabama, in the case Beau versus Marshall, 5 parents wanted to argue against the law in 2022 that basically took their ability to make decisions about their child's health care, which the Vulnerable Child Compassion and Protection Act would ban puberty blockers, hormone therapy, gender-affirming surgeries for minors. So essentially, it removes access to gender-affirming care for individuals under the age of 19. These 5 families took this suit in and wanted to challenge this law. What has happened from that is now that the state's attorneys are asking for the court to require the families of these children to produce medical records related to their gender dysphoria diagnosis. So what is happening is that these children, minors, remember, have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and now the state wants to require, or the state's attorneys wants to require the families to release those medical documents to the state so that they can pass those off for review by who knows what panel of people or even individuals. This is an egregious forcing of the release of personal information. Texas is trying to put a new Don't Say Gay bill in. I think we did talk about this one, Emily, but the facts remain that Texas wants to get on the Don't Say Gay bandwagon and push for that issue. In my adopted home of Arkansas, new governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders wants to bring an alumni of Florida's Don't Say Gay education reforms to the state of Arkansas and bring all kinds of new great things to our education in Arkansas. Basically saying that by bringing in Jacob Oliva, he is a leader who has proven himself in the fight to empower parents and implement bold education reforms under Governor DeSantis, and we are ready to transform Arkansas education. So, yay, we are now going to get in Arkansas a very similar thing to what we've seen in education in Florida. And that's what's happening in your states.
I still think it's very sad, that the 11-year-old, pretty much the one person who is visible in West Virginia as a trans athlete, has been performing in cheerleading competitions for multiple years. Like you said, is taking the hormone blockers, so does not have the male advantage or whatever. And it, like I said, is the one person that's visible that is at issue in West Virginia, and that they still feel it's so important to ban trans kids from the sports when there's no proof of it being an issue. It's just, putting the cart way before the horse, and not dealing with issues and finding a way to solve them, like with requirements for HRT or for testing the skill level of the athlete to, put them in the right class or any of these sorts of things. They're just like following the political rhetoric and just banning outright instead of taking the time. It just seems very lazy to me and, obviously discriminatory. And yet the judge feels like, no, it's fine to ban this one girl from competing in Western sports.
And on the grounds that the evidence before the judge says that this individual who is sitting before you, who has challenged this law, has fulfilled the requirements of the law. They are on puberty blockers. They are, they are limiting their advantage as deemed by non-professional types in a court of law. But the judge is looking at this case and saying, yep, you're right. You check off all the boxes. You are the one that qualifies to be exempted from this. oh, but wait, somebody else may not play fair. So, nope, we're not going to listen to your case.
Well, and the other one that I like to go back and point out a lot is Leah Thomas. Leah Thomas became the center of this trans sports ban thing because she was in the Olympics. She didn't medal. Then there was another story where someone filed a formal complaint because they tied with her for 5th place. And it's just like in that one specific event, she at least had 6 cisgender women who were as good or better than her. And people are still crying for this unfair trans advantage. And it's just like Leah Thomas fit all of the NCAA and Olympic requirements that were there as far as HRT and that sort of thing. And clearly didn't have an unfair advantage.
Right. And was still within the NCAA's ruling, Here's the thing, though, like at what point are you going to accept the fact that you're a loser? All right. 5th place is pretty much tie for 5th place. It doesn't matter what's going on at 5th place. Yeah. If it's 5 out of 18, you did fine, honey. You're still a fucking loser. Sorry.
I feel that's a bit harsh, but look. It seems funny to be making this level of a stink about the competition when you've tied for 5th place for something. It's like you tied with a person and you weren't even top 3. So anyways.